The Judge from Hell is my latest K-drama watch, and this one is fantastic. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it today in this podcast. It's kind of a first impression slash recap of the first 3 episodes I've seen and why this surprising thriller slash fantasy might potentially have a really intense, I can't even get the words out, an insane romance brewing within it, and why I think you should stop everything and give it a watch like right now. Hi, I'm Monique. I am the host of Off by Purple Art podcast, where I talk to you about K-dramas, C-dramas, BTS, and so much more. The Judge from Hell, the first 3 episodes were really insane. Like, just so intense. I really did not expect to get sucked into the show so quickly. I actually really want to hurry up and finish this filming of this podcast so that I can go back and watch it some more, because it is just, it's too much. We're dealing with 2 very intricate characters. The female lead in particular is such a great character study, and I find the actress in the lead role was so much of a better fit for this show than what she took part in earlier this year with Dr. Slump, which I think had a lot of promise, and I don't think it was necessarily a bad show, but unfortunately I lost interest from Dr. Slump very quickly. But she really gets to flex her acting muscles in this show, and this show is so much fun. So the female lead is a demon. She is from hell, and she is a judge from hell. And she takes a lot of pleasure in dealing with her particular sector. So in hell, there's a lot of different divisions in this show. And in her particular division, region, district, whatever you want to call it, she specifically deals with sinners that have been murderers or serial killers in the mortal realm, Earth, right? So she is essentially judge, trial, jury, all that stuff. And in this particular instance, which is the inciting incident for the show, the female lead has this particular case where a woman was stabbed very brutally on a dark, very snowy night by a perpetrator that's masked and is full in black from head to toe. Now, we, the audience, don't know much about this woman as of yet, but we will learn very shortly about her. But she was stabbed very brutally, and she wakes up and ends up in hell in the female lead's district. And she immediately brandishes her as guilty of all charges, and now she is for eternal damnation. Turns out, though, that she was wrong in her accusation, that there's a lot more to the story than meets the eye. So this woman that was stabbed by this perpetrator turns out to be a judge in the mortal world. She's actually a judge on Earth. And for whatever reason, the female lead mistakenly thought that she was responsible for murders, or maybe that she was up to no good as a prosecutor in her life. Anyways, she wrongly brandishes her as someone that deserves eternal damnation, and it turns out she's innocent of this charge. So she gets one hell of a reprimand from her quote-unquote director in hell, and he's referred to as Baal. Very scary MF, let me tell you. He has like spider legs coming out of his back, just an overall unsavory kind of guy. And he says, you really effed up with this one, so I'm gonna punish you for wrongly accusing and trying this human and bringing her here when she wasn't a sinner that shouldn't have been down here. I'm going to banish you now from hell. You're going to go to earth, and you're going to find me 10 killers slash serial killers, and you have a year's time to do this. You're going to trial, convict, and ultimately kill 10 humans that are sinners that deserve to actually be down here with the rest of us. And if you don't do this in a year's time, using the actual justice system, because you're going to take place of this woman that you falsely accused, I personally, Bale, am going to kill you. And he is scary as all hell, and she takes that threat very seriously. So she gets banished from hell, gets sent back into the mortal realm, and now she is hosting this human's body. So that's the female lead. And it's so much fun because the little information that we get from the female lead, that she was a prosecutor herself, and she was very plain clothed, and I believe, you know, she wasn't very flamboyant in her personality. She was just a straight shooter, but we don't have that much information about her. But the demon that is now inhibiting her body is very flamboyant, loves a good fashion moment, and she takes over in her human body, and she is a menace in the courtroom because she's sent on this mission where she has to get 10 people and try and convict them and ultimately banish them to hell. She is getting all these court cases, and she does not give a single shit about them because it's all boring, pretty middling stuff. Like, she's not getting like the meaty criminal convictions. So she's very dismissive and very abrupt in court, and it's actually really funny sequences of events. But she then ultimately gets a very interesting case almost like handed to her in her lap. And this is where the show gets very triggering, at least in the first couple episodes. So the first episode, not only just detailing like the demon's backstory and how she inhibits this human body as the female lead and what have you, but it goes over a pretty graphic domestic violence case. And this woman has been battered so badly by her boyfriend, who basically threatens to unalive himself and unalive her if she doesn't comply with his every whim. And he battered and bruised her so badly that he was arrested, and he's currently being tried in court. And he is carrying on with this sob show. He's crying, and he appears extremely remorseful. And it's almost like, despite knowing the severity of his actions, because through the court case we see pictures and evidence of just how much he brutalized this woman, and his acting and his crying and his theatrics almost tricks the audience into thinking maybe he is remorseful and he's someone that needs to deeply get into therapy and counseling, even though he doesn't need to be near his victim anymore. That maybe there is some level of remorse, but the judge sees right through him and his BS, and so did I. But the actor is very good at being chilling while playing this character of someone that truly didn't understand the gravity of his actions, and only that he reacted in such a way because she threatened to leave him. And in one of those little moments, like the mask of this character really slips, and it's like, ha, got you. So now she has an interesting case to work with. Now we introduce the male lead, who is a detective, and he has one hell of a backstory himself, but he's human, and he has tasked himself with protecting this victim that's part of this DV case. And part of what's pissing him off so much is that ultimately this guy, because it's a first time offense, he's technically never killed anyone yet, and the only records that show of his criminal activity is towards this one woman. And of course, just knowing how misogynistic court systems are in general, this is not just a specific Korea thing, this is just a global thing in general, that women tend to not be believed, or their abuse isn't taken very seriously. The likelihood that this man's going to get off with essentially a slap on the wrist is going to be very evident, especially because this is like a first-time offender situation. So the cop is extremely angry, extremely bitter about the turn of events. But don't worry, our female lead is on to this guy. And this is how the female lead and the male lead actually intersect, is through this first case. And the chemistry between the two of them gets so interesting. It is very much an enemies to lovers. And with this demon and her sense of dismissiveness of these cases until it somehow benefits her because, you know, she has a limited time on Earth. She only has this year to complete this mission or, you know, her ass is grass. But she takes an interest in this case, and ultimately she wants the truth. She wants justice. The male lead is a detective. He wants truth, but he wants justice, but he genuinely has empathy and genuinely cares about the livelihood of this woman and many others. But he has a special interest in this case, has been trying to protect this woman. So they both are two sides of the same coin with the same objective. And then the way they continue to interact in the next couple of episodes is truly, truly fascinating. I've spoiled a lot already, but essentially to kind of finish that storyline, the domestic violence abuser, the asshole, he definitely gets what's coming to him. And this is when the story really starts to get interesting because the demon, the female lead, her and the detective kind of end up having like a celebratory drink together once they're able to take justice into their own hands and take care of this guy. And trust me, the scenes where the demon gets payback are extremely satisfying, even though a lot of the show, at least I found for the first couple of the episodes, was extremely violent and extremely graphic. So definitely if you're someone that is a survivor of domestic violence, anything of the sort of like intimate partner violence, I would definitely approach this show with a lot of caution. But in any case, they're having a celebratory drink and some barbecue. And the detective, the male lead, kind of gets drunk and he ends up revealing some dark secrets of his past and how he believes that he's a killer himself. And that's kind of why he set himself on the path of righteousness and becoming a detective and caring about, you know, intimate partner violence and these particular type of cases. And of course, our female lead hears this, but hasn't picked up on the nuance that even though he might believe he's a killer, I think we as an audience have to infer that it probably isn't the way he remembers, because everything shows us that this guy is actually a decent human being, has a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy, and it couldn't be just as simple as he's killed 3 people who he claims are within his family, but there's more to it. But all our female lead heard was he is potentially a killer, and here is my next victim that I can strike off the register. And going into more spoilers, she ends up knifing him and kills him, only to find out that no, she mistakenly condemned someone else again. And then Bale, her director, kind of oversees a lot of cases in hell, appears to her again and says, "You effed up again. This man is not a sinner. What the hell are you doing? And now I'm going to punish you even further. And now it's going to be 20 people that are actually sinners, that are actually murderers, that you're going to have to get trialed, convicted, and killed and brought down here in a year's time, not even just 10. So she's obviously freaking the hell out, and she's revealed her hand to this male detective. So he ends up being resuscitated back to life because he was wrongly killed by this demon. And let me tell you, the show gets even crazier after that, because once he comes back to, he now knows everything. He's seen her in her true form and what her main missions are. And because she just killed him, now he needs to know everything that there is to know about her. And the two actors are playing off each other so incredibly well. Let me tell you, this show is so interesting. It does have a lot of triggering violent scenes, at least I found in the first couple of episodes. But I like that they're taking like a case-by-case approach with each episode. So the romance and the potential brewing chemistry between the two leads isn't the main focus of the show, you know, and the female lead has her storyline and she has her main mission throughout the entirety of the show. But I like that the show almost leaves you on like cliffhangers. There's about 6 episodes out right now. I watched the first 3, and when I tell you, I'm completely immersed in this. It is such a good show so far, and is so viscerally interesting. Now, some of the CGI FX is a little spotty here and there, but I can tell you the show is dark, it's twisted, it's funny, it's got charisma coming out of every which end. It is just such an interesting show. Let me tell you, I think it's worth giving this show a cursory review, but mind my content warnings. Definitely if you're someone that has been a survivor of intimate partner violence or domestic violence, definitely tread with a lot of caution. Particularly, I found the first and second episode to be a lot. And yeah, just go in with caution with that. But it is such an intriguing story. And let me tell you, the main perpetrator, he gets what's coming to him in an amazing way. And the show just continues to get more intriguing with the second case and the second quote-unquote victim that the female lead has kind of set her eyes on. And the fact that her and the male lead have this really interesting banter, the fact that he knows about her true nature and just what she's capable of, but at the same time there's a spark of interest as well, because despite her unhuman-like ways, because she definitely has a disdain for humans, and she's not human, she's a demon, so she's not going to feel empathy and sympathy in the same way. She still, at the end of the day, wants the same thing that the detective wants, which is to find the truth and to put away the bad guys. It absolutely serves her better interest, but they both want the same things. And I think that internal battle between them and how they go about getting these perpetrators, especially because her MO is to essentially kill them, it's just going to be a really, really interesting show to continue to develop, just to get into, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. So let me know your thoughts. Have you given this show a try yet? Are you more intrigued since what I've talked to you about? Let me know below. If you're watching the video form of this podcast via YouTube, if you are listening via Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I love you. I appreciate you as well. You can leave your commentary on those platforms, I believe, as well. And until next podcast, bye.